Wow, that works. Welcome to another town hall. I'm Sherry Lee Bloodworth Botop with the City of Fairhope. We were waiting for the flag to arrive, so that was very important. I want to thank the Rotary Youth Club for hosting us tonight. And Louise Mason, the executive director, is over here, who did a lot of work. And Angie Bracey, where are you? She's got to be here somewhere. She might be exhausted. There she is. Hi. Thank you so much for all your work. And we have board members here tonight, too. They're hiding. There's 1, 2, 3. There they come. All right. So thanks to all of you for all your hard work. This is such a great facility, and we're fortunate to be partners with you here. So we're going to have a little special treat tonight. We have this Star-Spangled Banner, and it will be performed by Linda Bosby, Lyric Hall, and Amaya Gill. And after that, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance by Cameron Qualls. And so we'll go ahead and get started, and then we'll jump right into our town hall. Thank you for coming. Ladies, do you need a microphone? Do you need this? No? Okay, all right. Do I need to stand up? Yes. Should we stand? Yeah. Flag. Oh, there it is, way over there.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hello, and thank you all for coming tonight. As always, we got all of this ready very quickly. Just the presentation part, the numbers we've been working on, for like 6 months now, but I am very pleased to be here tonight at one of my favorite places. This is where I feel very comfortable giving talks. Anyway, we're going to talk about some numbers and statistics in Fairhope that has never been discussed before. We've had the numbers in various studies in our schools, census, and other statistics, but this is the first time we've put it together in a way that we can look at just where we are as a city. And by doing this and making the citizens aware, Then and only then we can figure out what we can do for planning the future and figuring out ways to fund the things that are currently underfunded. I was supposed to read this part, but I don't have my thing in front of me. The City of Fairhope seeks to improve the quality of life of all communities through demonstrative, trustworthy leadership. This is kind of our new mission for Fairhope. We are committed to a sustainable future, promoting environmentally sound conservation alongside preservation efforts that protect our unique heritage. The city believes that open government and the easy exchange of public information creates community ownership. And that is we kind of got this from the citizens because we are at a point now where our community is probably the least engaged with government. And I think a lot of things have contributed to this, lack of, a newspaper, a daily newspaper. And I think now people coming out to town hall meetings, more people coming out to the city council meetings and following the information on Facebook, we're getting ready to, I think, be the most engaged Fairhope citizens than we've ever been in Fairhope history. And that's just so important because you are the ones that have to hold people accountable. And when you don't know what's going on, we look at the flowers, like I've said, and the paved streets and think everything's wonderful, but, we do have to look behind the facade. The big issue, Fairhope's growth is stretching budgets for infrastructure and our schools. The population growth in Fairhope since 2010, we've increased 22% in population. I've said this at every town hall meeting. Fairhope is the fastest growing city in the fastest growing county in the state of Alabama. The extensive growth that has happened over the years, these are some of the things that we have to face right now and deal with right now. We feel these are the most critical things to the citizens. I am going to hand over the mic in just a second to our new operation director, Richard Peterson, and he has just in his short time here with the city come up with some general figures for needs for our infrastructure. And I'm going to just go through this and then you can talk more about that. These are infrastructure emergency needs. I don't want to say emergency as in fear, but these are things we can no longer put off. They have to be done now in our utilities, and then after that, we have to invest money annually to maintain that infrastructure. We can no longer wait when things are broke or when they're at a point where people and the citizens are experiencing problems. We have to take care of the citizens who are here. So that's number one. Our community parks and facilities, repair, upgrades are critical. I won't go into all the details. It's a little depressing, but it is. We have to update a lot of the rec department and other facilities. Stormwater. How many people in here are concerned about stormwater? It is one of the biggest concerns, and because of that and because of the explosive growth, stormwater has to be addressed in a comprehensive way, and I kind of went over that in the last town hall meeting. We are hoping, I want to hire a public works director who is a professional engineer with a stormwater background, stormwater management background. The public works director, and we've been in a hiring freeze for over a month now. We have a special meeting tomorrow at noon with City Council to hopefully finalize the budget, and the most critical part will be hiring the Public Works Director so we can use his expertise through the rest of the moratorium, which will end in end of June. And then Fairhope's character, the explosive growth, that is coming in, those are the things that we are concerned about the most, because it's that growth and some of the things that are moving in that's changing the character of what we love about Fairhope. And I say this at every town hall meeting, we all love Fairhope for different reasons, but I mean, the majority of people are not stuck here. You know, they live here because they want to. And this growth and what we're going to do with our planning is make sure that future growth is in line with the way we want to grow and preserves our character. But before we go on to some of the other statistics, I'd like for our new operation director, Richard, to talk about just a little bit of the infrastructure needs and our utilities.
Well, thank you, Mayor. And my name is Richard Peterson. I'm on my 5th week in employment with Fairhope. And you don't decide that you need to spend $15 to $25 million in 5 weeks, and I didn't do that. I've depended on a lot of information from a lot of people that work here now, and it's important to me that we engage in the workforce and identify issues that need to be addressed. There's been if you take each utility individually, there has been a report prepared on the electrical system, and each substation in the system is either 75% loaded or as high as 107% loaded. And we're looking pretty hard with modeling software that we're engaged with Stewart Engineering, who did the report, to identify circuits that we can shed off of the more loaded substations and deliver power through some of the less loaded substations. But if we maintain any sense of growth that we're projecting, pretty much every single substation within the next 3 to 4 years needs to be addressed. The Valanta station, which is across from the dog park, it's the oldest station. Unfortunately, it's the last one that we can get to because of the way the system is designed, and that's all fine. So we're looking in the interim, and if you say, well, let's just order these substation parts and let's just get them fixed, and we can do that, and that's kind of what I'm trying to recommend as we go forward. But to order the substation parts today, you're still looking at about a year's delivery time and about 18 months to get them facilitated into the substation network itself. So it's not a short-term fix, it's a long-term program that we're trying to establish timelines and benchmarks to get finished. So we can go through this summer with what we have. We're looking to evaluate the system with some infrared imagery technology. We're looking to see if there's any weak spots that we can correct. We're looking to do that through the power system, but also through the water and wastewater system. We think we can save some reactive maintenance if we do this in kind of a proactive approach. We're looking to manage peak loads this summer by utilizing the existing generators we have at our water and wastewater plants. We think that'll help shed some load. And it's not, I don't want to paint a dire picture, but it is at a point where you have equipment that is, and if I quote the report, at or near its useful life. You start to think, well, I'd rather be near the useful life than at the useful life as we get into this summer. So, and I may be a little bit more conservative in when I think we need to take, some pretty progressive actions in replacing this equipment. It's expensive. The total cost of the electrical system upgrade that we hope to, do in the next 3 years will approach $10 million. I mean, that's documented through the report. And we have a lot of cast iron gas main that's in the ground. We'd like to be a little more aggressive in replacing that. We think in places in town where that cast iron gas main exists, depending on where it is and how we try to structure the replacement of that, we think we ought to take advantage of being in those right-of-ways and looking at the wastewater system. The wastewater system, we've got a new plant, state-of-the-art, does a great job treating the average daily flow, but rain events, we still have inflow and we still have issues that we want to engage with the public in terms of how to identify clean outs that have been broken off that allow stormwater to get into, even gutters from rooftops that allow water to get into the system. We need to identify all those places, and we're going to need help from the public to do that. And the more load that we can shed by being identified through public awareness type approaches, the better and the less expensive it'll be to go through the system. But a lot of places where this cast iron gas main is located are also places where the sewer system is that old too. And so if we can identify specific issues while we're out there, then we'd like to try to, fix some of those too while we're there. It's hard to put a price tag on how much that will be. The cast iron gas main replacement for the entire 16 miles, it will probably approach close to $3.5 to $4 million. The DOT, who regulates the transportation of natural gas, feels pretty strongly that systems need to be aggressive in the replacement of cast iron gas main, and I think that there's no time like the present to do that. And I think if we can couple the replacement of the cast iron gas main with identification of specific sewer issues, I think we'll be better off in the long run for having done that. And then you go into the wastewater system conveyance type, transmission type systems, which are lift stations and force mains. We've looked at a study that I think we have an engineer on board to identify the capacity of pumps, the needed capacity for specific growth, the sizes of the force mains, and we're looking to see where upgrades within the transmission system may need to take place in the next couple of years, or as we measure the growth rate and we measure the condition of these pump stations, we want to make sure we keep up with that. On the water side, I think we're in pretty good shape with production capability. We have the capacity from the wells to meet our peak demands. We do have the elevated tank on Fairhope Avenue that's just east of the intermediate school that will need to be painted. There are cell tower companies that are removing their equipment off that tank now, and we hope to, by the 1st of October, get into a program where we're painting that tank. And my biggest concern with that right now is I hope that doesn't affect the upgrade of the substation, which is right underneath it. We're still trying to make sure we understand what space requirements are going to be needed by each contractor, and we hope that we can set up both of these agreements where the contractors aren't going to be in each other's way and postpone or delay the production of both of those types of projects we're doing there. But anyway, that's kind of a snapshot of the utilities. Does anybody have any questions that they'd like to ask? I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Well, I wanted to reiterate, too, that the gas lines that have to be replaced, the government is allowing until 2028 to do these things. So the plan beforehand was to do so many miles a year until 2028. Well, we are in agreement that, if we know that we have 16 miles to do, this is not an area where we want an accident going to be about kicking the can down the road anymore, and we just can't do that. I want to take care of all of the critical infrastructure needs now, and then, again, every year use the profits from the utilities to reinvest in that before it becomes a problem. So that is what our plan is. And, well, I guess what's the next?
Yes, sir, you have a question?
Yes, are you all ready to install
Actually, this
sorry.
plan will be consolidating 5 lift stations into 4, but they're new, so they're going to have a lot more capacity. Our electric, unlike the other utilities, we're kind of landlocked. We're not going to, there's no growth potential there. We're under a district for our electric.
Yeah, we have territorial legislation that establishes where our service territory is. There are pockets within that service territory that will develop eventually, and there will be added load. But to answer your question, yes, I think we're adding 30% capacity to each of the substations that we're upgrading. Yes, ma'am.
My question is simple. Why is there so much growth being allowed to come in with all the problems that we already have?
Are you saying what, with the problems we already have, what was the beginning of it? I mean, the growth, I mean, we can't shut the doors. I know everybody wants to do that. You know, we have a very desirable place to live and people want to move here, but what our responsibility will be is to make sure that we can protect the way we grow. Now, that's going to be a whole nother town hall meeting, but the only way that we can do that right now is putting things in place with our utilities and restrictions and benefits for people who live inside the city, so they'll be incentivized to come in. Again, this is a whole nother topic, but go to the next one. Where is the, if you'll go to the map real quick. Oh, I didn't know who was doing it. So we didn't put that on its own. Okay. This is going to be kind of small, but can I get over here without it? This is a Fairhope area. And if you can see, you've got kind of a blue and yellow on the bottom. That represents our whole school district, which we're going to get to. But see the pink area? And don't even count this, because this is the airport. This little bit of pink, that's inside the city limits. Everything else, for the most part, outside the city limits is unzoned. And those are things that, with the exception of the planning jurisdiction, we cannot control. That is a whole nother subject, but these are the things we want to put in place so we can protect the character of Fairhope and make sure that, you know, our livelihood and our life investment, you know, remain the way we want. We don't want to turn into Anytown, USA. The only way that we can do that, though, is to bring people inside the city. And there's a multitude of benefits of doing that that I'm not going to address today. But we're going to first talk about schools, and that's why I invited some of the principals, and I see Julie there. Our 5 public schools in the last 10 years have increased 24%, almost 25%. And this is, even if you don't have kids in school, I think most can understand how great schools impact all of our quality of life. And this it has to be a focus. If we're growing that fast, and we are today the fastest growing city, we have to have urgent plans for planning for our schools. I think we need 2 more K-6 schools, or turning one into K-6 and an additional K-6. And then we're going to have to increase probably our middle school and high school. Okay, here we are. Student growth rate now, we have 48.7% inside the city limits. This is all the students that go to our 5 schools. It's a little over 5,000 students. 48.7% are inside the city limits. That's that pink area that I showed you on the map. Outside the city limits is 51.3. So we're basically half and half. And the growth is happening outside the city limits. So that is what we're having to plan for. It is all the growth outside the city limits. That's what's increasing every year, and we're at a tipping point now where, you know, the kids inside the city limits are the minority and outside. So how do we, I want to first say, these are county schools, but Fairhope, unlike probably all other cities, I haven't been able to get all of the information from every city, but Fairhope spends, for 2017, 2018, over $1 million, over and above, to subsidize our Fairhope schools. And this subsidy is the appropriation, which is about $350,000, and Julie can agree with me that we want to give more than that. This is honestly just kind of, in my opinion, propping our schools up. It's making our schools equal. I would be a lot happier making sure that money was making our school better, but right now they're just making them equal to all the other schools. And about $550,000 we've always spent every year. We built our own stadium. We take care of that. We do all the services, and we pay for that all under the city. We want to continue to do that, and it's not going to stop. But those are things our city has always done that most schools in Baldwin County don't do. And if our growth, the people who are paying for this subsidy, and I call it a subsidy just because, again, if we didn't have this over $1 million, Baldwin County couldn't afford to give it to us. We paid for a lot of this on our own from the beginning for a long time. We're not going to take it away. And the $350,000 now that we give each year, it hadn't been a long time since we've been doing that, we already know we have to do more. So who is paying for the subsidy right now, which is a little over $1 million? It's coming from the property taxes, city sales tax, city property tax on the people that live inside the city limits, because the people, of course, that live outside the city limits don't pay city property tax. The people inside the city limits pay 15 mills, which is the maximum allowed in the state of Alabama. So taxing those citizens more is not fair. And of course, you know, I'm one of those people, but anybody that is paying 15 mills and nobody else is contributing to that, then, you know, they don't want to be taxed anymore. And I agree. The amount of money, where's the value of a 1 mil? I keep on going that way. Okay. Inside the city limits, 1 mil equals $321,735. 1 mil outside the city limits is $305,190. So if we're paying over $1 million, folks inside the city limits, then we're already paying about 3.2 mils of our 15 mil city property tax to our schools. I don't want to make these people pay more. They're already paying 3.2. People have heard us talk about a 3 mil overlay. Yes, we need more funds, but the 3 mills would really need to come from outside the city limits, so everybody's paying approximately 3 mills. So if we were to try to do something like that, we would take the population inside the city limits, reduce their city property tax to 12, and then if we did a 3 mil overlay, their total tax would stay 15 mil, net neutral. It's already going to schools. Now it's just earmarked and paid indirectly as a 3 mil. So if that happens and we put that to a vote, everybody that is in a feeder pattern, including inside and out, vote for the 3 mil. The people who live inside the city are going to vote for it because they're just voting to have more contributions outside the city limits. And if we were to get the 3 mil from outside the city limits, that would equal $915,000 that we could fund the schools more. And the reason this is feasible is because there's no question our schools need it. You just have to talk to the principals. But again, there's about half that's already paying that to keep our schools propped up. And to incentivize people to come in, and there's going to be a lot of incentives, another town hall meeting, we just have to have a little bit more contribution for the rest of the kids that are coming into the schools. So that is what I would like to start talking to citizens about, that value. When it does go to a vote, again, I think it would be successful because the people inside the city limits will vote for something where, you know, they'll be paying the same amount, but just getting other contribution. And as people come in, that 3 mills goes away, people coming into the city limits. Now, I also wanted to state, what's the value of, it was $100,000? If an assessed value, the assessed value, $100,000 assessed value equals $150. The assessed value on your property is usually a lot lower than what it appraises for. So that'll give you an idea of what it would cost. So if your property value is less than $100,000, you know, and in some areas it is, believe me, if it's not, you know, if it hasn't sold, it hasn't been appraised, or it has not been improved, the assessed value is very, very low. So that'll give you an idea of what that cost would be, that would be contributing. Let's see. This is another thing I wanted to talk about the penny tax, because this is something that we already are paying. This is not going away, but what you need to know is how that penny is broken out, because our state legislation is voting on that percentage of the pie by the end of this end of May. Okay, right now the penny tax is broken up the opposite of that. You can see it says, right now the penny tax makes up 55% right now goes to our school. This is what legislation wants to change. They want the 55% to go to roads. And then they want the 40% that they had to go to the schools now. Again, we're already hurting. We don't need less than 55. We need more. This is going to a vote. These are the things that you don't hear about, and which is why we're handing out tonight ways that you can contact our Baldwin County legislators. 5% goes to Alabama Coastal Community College, which is now Faulkner and the other schools. And I'm like, hey, they can get tuition. You know, public schools, the kids, you know, we have to accept all the public schools. That's for another day. But I'm just saying, my opinion, this absolutely has to be looked at, because these percentages were put in place long, long ago. Community college, they can get more funding. Baldwin County for roads, you can absolutely find more funding for roads. Do not use this penny tax to take away our 55% and lower it to 40. If anything, that percentage needs to increase. So that, like I said, there's going to be lots of little things we can do for our schools, but I think investing in studies to show how great schools benefit a community, that's so important, because that really has not been addressed as well as I think it should. When you go to near Birmingham schools, Mountain Brook, you know, nobody can move to Mountain Brook, you know, because unless they want to pay primo for their house, because once you get there and you have kids in that school, you're not leaving. I mean, great schools equal exceptional quality of life for everyone. It does not matter if you have a kid in school or not. Those are the things that people need to be aware of if they're not already, and I think people in Fairhope know that. Okay. We'll Well, after today, we're going to, Facebook just updated a new feature where you can contact your legislators, senators, and everything directly off Facebook. So for those who want the easy way, we're going to post that tomorrow, but we're also handing out information, and we need to let legislation know we want the 55%. And if you don't do it, there are elections next year, 2018. Okay. Oh, is this it?
Yeah, for questions.
Oh, okay. Let me see if there's one more thing I wanted to put in here. Okay, if I missed something, that's fine. But what I do want to answer questions for, particularly in this location, is any concern of the cost it might be to people that are not inside the city limits. Because it would be a local tax. We will figure out ways to make sure that citizens that could not afford that, we would do something very fair. I wanted to present this as a big picture more than anything, and know that I don't want anybody to fear that I can't pay any extra for my kids to go to school. There's a huge portion of that area outside that pink area in the map that can't afford it. So it's more about the big picture than it is, trying to tax people that may not be able to afford it. So, but yes, any questions? Yes.
Annexation.
Yes.
I saw a lot of areas that should have been pink that are blue, that are.
You are correct. The pink and blue, if you'll go back to that, the blue portion, they're all Fairhope schools, but this is how the map looks. The bluish part is all the schools but J. Larry. J. Larry Newton is the yellow area. That's all that means. They're all Fairhope schools.
What I'm talking about as far as taxation, you're saying the pink is the city infrastructure?
Oh, yeah. That whole area is serviced.
So that everybody can hear what he's saying,
Okay.
please.
We'll pass around this one. Okay. Here you go.
What I'm seeing is we've got a lot of blue up here and a lot of blue here. And
We have over 200 kids in Daphne that go to our school.
And I think that ought to be pink.
Oh, absolutely. This is another, I didn't want to confuse the need for annexation with this town hall meeting, but again, that little pink area, and don't count the one on the bottom part because that's the airport, is the only part that's inside the city limits. There's not a city in the world, I don't think, that looks like Fairhope, has everything that we have, and it's all because of our community and its citizens, but that faces this. I mean, I honestly think this is unprecedented. Now, a lot of towns have very spotty, incorporated areas. Oh, it's ridiculous. There's no question about that. It's because it's never been addressed. It's never been talked about. Well, not addressed as a way that it was all for development. I mean, and that's what, we risk the most in decreasing our property values is bringing things in that is like any other town. So all of that area, and our goal will be, when we talk about annexation, is the cost to the few to take care of this huge geographic area. And we will talk more detail about that in another town hall meeting, but our police, for example, the budget for this year for our police department is $6 million. Now, remember, we only have 18,000 people inside the city limits. look at the geography. The pink area really makes up a quarter to a third of our whole area. Well, the police, they go out here at all. They're doing this whole area. So the county sheriff department, their budget for this year is 24 million. I think it's 24 million for the whole county. We're just little Fairhope. So that, I'm just letting you know statistically that this is absolutely not sustainable. And that's another thing. When we talk about benefits of coming in, we have to be realistic. And that would be one of the benefits, is that, we're going to have to rein in the police to the city infrastructure.
Yes, the index, how do y'all go about doing index of the city limits when you got a spot here and a spot there, but you never know until you try to get something done?
There's no question. You basically, you're not in the city limits if you're not paying city property taxes. If you don't own your property, then you're not getting your garbage picked up, because we only pick up garbage and trash inside the city limits. But we are going to have a way soon in place where there will be a distinct, you're going to be able to tell if you're inside or outside the city limits, because the list of benefits that we're going to start giving the people who live inside the city limits is going to far, far exceed,
But can you be asked, can you get in the city
absolutely.
limits? I'd rather live in the city
Annexation
limits than
can
live like
happen
something.
three ways, and again, we'll talk about that at the next town hall, but you can petition to come in, and it's just a majority vote. You can, in areas where it's really spotty, and if you could, this is not very distinct, but there's literally, roads where the left-hand side of the street is all city, and then the right-hand side of the street is county. I mean, it's crazy. So those things can probably be done on the state level legislation. So it is very, very important to address this, and what we're going to do, this is a huge area. We're going to carve out what we first believe would be the urban planning, I don't know if it's be district or what, but it's going to be, you kind of have to start somewhere. And you're going to draw a circle around, based on roads, I think, to make it easy, and start there as the first part, and say, that would be, again, like I said, I don't want to get into too much detail, because a lot of this stuff, these are my ideas, and I don't even know if you can do it, so, I don't want to, but, I think it needs to start as a 2-year plan, and then go out to these other areas, but it doesn't make sense to want to annex this whole area, because it has to be planned for. Now, who had their?
Right here. Go ahead. My mouth big enough. I like to know why are we having a lot of the Daphne kids coming to our schools, and we're already overcrowded, and we're asking to be to pay for more taxes. When the Daphne kids,
Well, no, the feeder pattern would be anybody that lives. It would include those Daphne students too. The money follows the student, so a feeder pattern. It wouldn't be just Fairhope, it's the whole feeder pattern. You've got basically, I don't think we have this map, but we have a map that'll show you the school district, it's the biggest. The police jurisdiction, actually the planning jurisdiction is the next biggest. Police is kind of inside that, and then you've got inside the city limits.
okay, well, take out the tax part. Why are we still housing Daphne children to go to school in Fairhope when the Fairhope schools is already overcrowded?
Well, the way the feeder pattern works is, and I told them they have to address it, and we're getting more information, and I'll update you as we do this, and that's through Baldwin County Board of Education board. But the feeder pattern is divided up per area, per city, and the property taxes for county property taxes, which we all pay, that's the money that follows the kid to the school. And that's fine for most cities. But for Fairhope, we pay a lot more over and above our, the county property taxes into the school. Again, we're already paying over $1 million, and we need more. So, yes, that's why we have to look at the feeder pattern, which they're doing now. And I told them I want to have statistic on each average class size for each grade, and I want it for every 45 schools in Baldwin County so we can look and see, to compare. The good news is, and that's why I'm like, we have to verify this. Where's Lynn? Yeah, I told her, call each school, find out the number of students, and then classrooms, and we'll find out ourselves what Fairhope is. But I'd say, remarkably, this year, we look lower than some of the other schools. That's what I want to verify. That's why we can't make decisions, we can't plan until we have the data. Why this isn't readily available and online to look at all the time is, to me, very puzzling. But we are going to find that out, because everybody has to come to the table to fix a problem. Who has the microphone? And then if you'll look for the microphone when you want to talk.
I have a question I want to ask you. If some of our citizens are living out of the city limits, and you said that they can petition to come into Fairhope, if they light bill is from Revere Utilities, how do that work out?
The utilities have nothing to do with you coming inside the city limits.
You still be with Revere?
Yeah. The Riviera is the electric part. We have
what about gas and water and all
gas
that?
and water, you would be Fairhope.
But they can get gas and water?
Yes,
Okay.
in Fairhope.
All right.
Yeah, the electric is the only part that, and I'm looking at that lawsuit from the mid-'80s to see, might need to be relooked at, but why we can't increase our electric, but we'll find out. But yeah, coming into the city limits, you have to be contiguous, but if you'll look up here, and I'll post this too, you'll see areas that are not contiguous. Here's a little subdivision out here. I mean, it's not touching anything. It's like a little island out there. But we also want to make it make sense for Fairhope, because we don't want to skip around giving services either. We want it to be one area. So when we go to a petition, a neighborhood petition to come in, we first have to look at where it's located, and it has to touch a portion of the pink. So that's how we're going to start with it. Yes, ma'am.
I think we have oversimplified the agreement that was made with the county in order to explain what's going on here, because if my understanding is correct, and I support the schools 100% as a former Georgia school administrator,
Wonderful.
but what their problem is that because certain rural sections of Baldwin County will not pass the penny sales tax, they made this agreement with the county commissioners in order to not have an election. And that's what it boils down to. And so in order to avoid having to go for an election, they did this agreement with the reversal of the numbers. Now, if we have to go to an election, pardon?
That penny, there's two different pennies. One penny was turned down. This is a penny.
I understand that. But this one comes up for renewal, and what they're trying to do is avoiding having to go for an election that they will probably lose. And
This
if
is not
they
going up
lose
for a
it-
renewal. They are just voting on this penny tax, how they're going to distribute the pie.
It was, if my understanding is correct,
Answer your question too, I think.
I can help this young lady out. I'm Eddie Tyler, Superintendent of Baldwin County Schools. and I can help you out. And you're pretty close to being right because, and Mayor, I know we haven't formally met other than at a Teacher of the Year banquet, and so I'm gonna be as polite and professional as I can be, sitting here listening to some of this. There's 7 feeder patterns in Baldwin County, 7 high schools. Now we have 8 starting next year. So there'll be 8 feeder patterns at Alberta High School. We're adding a 9th grade. We'll grow a grade every year. The Board of Education passed a resolution saying that if a feeder pattern wanted to create a millage, 3-meal tax overlay, they could do 1 meal if they wanted to. And the money generated in that feeder pattern by those citizens of the feeder pattern, by the people that attend the schools and in that feeder pattern, live in that feeder pattern, they could place a tax on themselves. And then that money would be dedicated strictly to Fairhope schools, all 5 schools. We as a board, we have to be the gatekeepers because by law, that money has to come and flow through the Board of Education, but then it flows back out to what the 5 schools in Fairhope want. If you want a performing arts center, a standalone, and you want to use some of that millage to build it, all I have to do is be at the table to make sure that we can maintain it. Because as a system, we still would maintain the facilities, okay? So there's, we're just giving you the ability to tax yourself. The 5540, the mayor's correct. That's from a 1984 tax, I believe. The penny tax, the 1% sales tax, is secure. The county commission, 4-0, on the 3rd of January, voted that in. So me as a superintendent, I don't have to worry anymore about can I keep my doors open and can I properly fund our 45 schools in Baldwin County. Because it's not just about Fairhope, it's about North Baldwin, it's about Robertsdale, it's about the south end of the county. So the penny was secure. The county commission reformed a partnership with the Board of Education that had been lost for years because there was no communication, nobody was getting along. I've been in this system 25 years prior to going off and then coming back. This is a special place to me, Baldwin County. And I spent 9 years here in Fairhope in various capacities. So I have a passion for Fairhope. But on the 5540, as a superintendent, I had to make a decision. So I talked to Frank Burke, I talked to some of the county commissioners, and I said, I need to secure the penny. So they said, Eddie, we'll secure the penny. But then they said, we need help. Now, I can't get into all the county funding. I couldn't say I know that. But my understanding was we could help them with road infrastructure that is hurting. My buses travel these roads. Our students travel these roads. So I said, well, maybe we can give back. So they were going to flop it, 55 to the county, 40 to the schools. That would be a loss to us of about $4 million. Okay, about $4 million. So I had to weigh, going to your thought about the election, if we wait to go to the election to the citizens for that penny, that's another 18 months out. I want to continue to provide a quality education to all our Fairhope schools and all the other 40 schools. I couldn't do that on a wing and a prayer and just limping along every year to keep the 3rd largest system in the state operating at a peak level. So I had to think, do I lose 40 million, possibly, or do I lose 4 or 5 more million?
I want to just interject real quick, with all due respect. Decisions like this can no longer be done behind closed doors. If
And
that
they
was the
weren't.
case,
And they weren't.
I'm not making it, but I'm telling you, the citizens don't know about that agreement.
They weren't made
Nobody-
behind closed doors.
But the citizens don't know about this statistic and that
It was-
agreement and that vote. And that's what I want to bring awareness to, because it wouldn't be a decision from a Baldwin County Board of Education. It would be their decision, because they're going to vote on them next year. And
Their
they
decision
can
on the
get.
5540?
Yes.
No.
Well, Yes, because that decision is for the citizens. As far as funding for the schools, we have to advocate all the things we want. We want more out of that penny. We want that sales tax included. That's undisputable. We're thinking about other ways to help our schools, because Fairhope has to fund our schools more than any other.
Well, I'm a little confused about your $1 million. Where are you getting your $1 million that you have to put in?
I have
You're
a
including the city
15-page
stadium, you're including the city stadium, things like that?
Oh, yeah.
You're not the only city that takes care of a stadium.
I know we're not the only city, in which that's why I'm going to find out what each city gives.
And then you're
But-
questioning the numbers that we sent you on student ratio, and that
Oh, no.
concerns me.
Well, no, I'm not questioning. I'm saying I want to know how it dropped so fast. I'm happy, but it
Right
doesn't
now,
change.
out of the 5 schools, the 2 schools that have shown growth this year are Newton and Fairhope.
Right.
The other schools are stable.
Right. But just, let me get back to the penny. You have to, funding is, it has to be transparent. You, as a voter, have to know where every penny is being distributed. And when I say the county can put in and find ways to fund roads, believe me, it's limitless. It's not just one thing they can do. They can do a combination of many things. I have been talking to our Baldwin County legislators. They know this, okay? But the people who don't know about it are the citizens. That's like on a level that it's not really talked about much. That's why we have to engage everybody. Where is all the funding coming from? Why is it being cut? The agreement for roads, it's not, to me, that is not something that should be, okay, do this for us so you won't lose this penny. That's absurd. We tell state legislation, we want all of that and more, because they can absolutely put in more fees. Fairhope is doing the same, okay? It's things like this happen because the citizens don't know about it. That's it. And I do believe that if we make a big deal about this, this is not about agreeing to something that we may lose in 18 months, because we're going to be more aware of what's going on with our schools. I'm definitely going to make sure of that, you know. So it is absolutely your decision, not a decision that happens and then voted on without anybody knowing about it. And that's just how it's going to be from now on. So, any other questions? Yes.
We're going to take a couple more. We're going a little over time, but there you go.
I would like to know this here too. The people that live on Kirkman Lane, all the black people that live on Kirkman Lane, they only could vote for president. The black people on Kirkman Lane have children that go to these schools.
Yes.
How can they find a way that their money be worth something if they had to give extra money to the schools for tax and stuff? How do they get in?
Right.
How could you help them to
this
find out
$3
what they
million
needed
would
to do?
only go to the schools, because it would be making all citizens pay about the same to our schools.
But if
For you to come in.
okay, if
Yeah,
they not
annexation is
annexed in
totally
Fairhope,
different. You can come into, but that's what we're doing with your community now.
Okay.
And I don't know if you've been coming to
so
the
when would they
community.
know?
Okay.
How
I don't-
soon would they know?
You're going to know because you're going to be a part of it. You would petition for that vote for your neighborhood, and that would go to a vote. Majority, 50% plus 1, would bring that area into the city. And it's not just because we need to have a one Fairhope. It's you need to have a voice, representation, and we need districts, because there needs to be more accountability with council in general. I mean, it's absurd that we vote at large when we all have different needs. So that absolutely is a priority for this term as well. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
May I revisit the topic of utilities with Mr. Pearson?
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Pearson, I did hear you address the need for upgrades with the electrical and the gas and the water tower. Could you address the stormwater and the drainage need, and where does that fall on the priority list for you?
I'm not, is this on? Hello? Well, thank you for the question. I'm hired to manage the utilities, but because there's no other public works director at this present time, I've been involved a little bit with Arthur Bosarge, who's the assistant supervisor. And what we're talking about doing is trying to set up some priorities and establish a goal, whether it's $500,000 a year or $750,000 a year, or whatever that goal can be. And try to start looking at a budget that allows us to address the highest priority needs first. And those would probably be where water goes over the road during most rain events. Well, one thing.
What about the stormwater? I mean, the stormwater and addressing it as a whole.
Well, all we're going to do is take the highest priority issues we can and work with the budget that we're given to address those first. And then, now, I'm not here to say that I know what all the priorities are, but I am depending on some of the people that have been involved in public works to know that.
With the Public Works Director, again, once we get the Public Works Director in place, that is a professional engineer with stormwater management experience. It's absolutely, we have the top level directors in place, and there is no stopping us for positive things happening in the future. The council voted in a hiring freeze the few days before I was getting ready to, try to post this job and get it out there and start interviewing. We're still under a hiring freeze due to the budget. We're having a special meeting tomorrow at noon, and hopefully this, will pass. But now they're saying, well, we'll approve the Public Works Director, but I don't know if we'll fund it yet. Just pay attention. That's all I ask you to do. But no, because stormwater is critical to everybody. It's not just you. Everybody has issues right now. That has to be put in place in a very comprehensive way. We can't just say, we're going to take this person, we're going to take this person, because each neighborhood has to come to the table to address it. The city has its responsibility, because a lot of development happened many years ago before we had the regulations that we have now. Developments that were done in watersheds, in wetlands. Those neighborhoods have to figure out, as a whole, how are we going to fix our neighborhood? Because it's only going to get worse. We're in the rainiest city in the country. So the city needs to do its part with studies, taking care of the big issues like our watersheds, and recognizing the different areas in our community that are more sensitive. But I know, but the building, do you understand that? That's not something we can put in place better regulations. And we are doing that during this moratorium. But it is impossible to prevent somebody from building on a property that they own. Right, I know. I'm not, she's giving you a.
I'm sorry.
Listen, I hear you. I'm not sure if you have been coming to the community meetings in that, the Tatumville area is what we're addressing with Sherry Lee, and I'm not sure if David Perks is still here. You were pointing. And there he is, right there in front of me. We're addressing that area. We're doing a plan just for that area. That's what we're working on right now, and they're meeting how often? Okay, but I'm also about this, we're trying to get his scope approved from council so we can move forward too. It's a slow process. Did somebody else have a question? Okay. Well, we can meet afterwards too.
Oh.
Not being disrespectful or anything like that, please don't think I am.
I'm
But
not.
I live on Middle Street.
I'll repeat it.
And all that water that come down when they went up there in that trailer court up there and put that drainage system up there, we've been having problems ever since. I mean, the water come all the way in my yard. If I had children, they can go out there and swim. Them bricks that you put
I said
down
whitewater
there-
rafting.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought we need to set up on those days.
Yeah, and that
Whitewater rafting.
That bricks that you put in them holes, it haven't did one bit of good. My whole yard is washing away.
Right. And just know
I mean, it's
that
washing away.
this part
But
that
it
you're
didn't
talking
start
about.
now until y'all went up there, and you weren't even mayor then until they went up there in that white trailer court and put all that good drainage system up there. And then all that water started coming down. And it's been a problem, and it's
Right.
getting worse. So
And
I
that's
want to
what
know,
we're gonna-
I want to know when you going to start, and I want to know how long it's going to take you to get started.
Well, we already started.
Okay, so have you came down on Middle Street and saw how bad the water is?
David Perks and Sherry Lee, and it's
been
going to
down
be, it's, to catch you up on everything we've been
come in my
doing
yard
will
and look?
take a long time. But, no,
Rose, I'm right there on Middle
that,
Street.
you know, we
Come in my
we took
yard.
over
Okay.
from a spot that
You was talking to Mr. Tackett.
was
Yeah.
over 2 years in the making, and we're going and fast forward. We are working on that, but, and I can talk to you more after. Anybody else? One more question, and I'll be here afterwards.
I'm sorry? Yeah, and what that project is that area of Nichols and I apologize for not knowing the subdivision name in there, but what they're doing is they're slip lining. There's some cured in place pipe techniques that they're putting in, like what would be a fiberglass mat, and when they put that in the sewer main, they'll pump heated steam in there to cure it, and then they'll go in and cut out the lateral connections to each house. So basically, and all these old sewer mains, they were built, you know, back in the 50s and 60s. They're vitrified clay material, which is very brittle, and so part of the evaluation is videoing each segment of that sewer system and the manholes that they come to. And then we try to fix the ones that are, you know, goes back to a priority-based type procedure for deciding which ones we need to replace first. Yes, ma'am.
Hey, I just want to, I'm John Caldwell, principal of Fairhope High School, and Julie Pierce is here at Fairhope Elementary, and Patrice Kruger back there. We've got two that had a meeting tonight. You guys are welcome to come to our schools anytime. I'll drink a cup of coffee with anybody. So y'all, she knows. So y'all please come and see. We do amazing things at our schools, and it's through FEEF, it's through the city, it's through the Board of Education. Please come, because you don't know what's happening until you walk down that hall and see it's crowded. We've got a new building, but y'all, your kids are getting a first-class education. That's why we came tonight, because we care. And if you don't believe me, come sit down and I'll walk you around and then we'll show you. But I just want to tell y'all thank you for coming out tonight.
And I'll echo the sentiment of Principal Caldwell. Anytime you have any questions, please call. I mean, we're here to serve y'all, and we want to do the best we can to do that. Oftentimes it takes input from the customer to know what is the higher priority, and we appreciate that input.
Yeah, I would like to commend the principal there at Fairhope High School for doing such a fantastic job. Him and Coach Carter has opened the doors for us to come in to help some of the athletes, especially those kids that need special help. They have opened the doors for us to come in to assist him and the coach in doing those things that's necessary to help these kids graduate. And I'd like to say thank you for that.
Okay, we could probably stay. We will stick around for anyone that has questions, but There is the State of the City address will be at the library on May 9th at 6 p.m. So we'd love to see you there, and that will be a really comprehensive look at what everyone's doing in the city. And there'll be something for you to take home too, so you can enjoy it in the comfort of your own home. Look at our budget. It's very exciting. No, it is, really. But thank you for coming out. If you have any other questions when you get home tonight, you can email townhall@fairhopeal.gov, and I promise we're going to start answering them on our website on the front page. So thank you for coming. And new website is coming soon, but don't give it all away before the State of the City.